When double checking to make sure that um, that he can hear us and see everything. Yes. Okay. Are you able to, Han? Are you able to hear and see everything? All right. Yeah. I think he. Not yet. Well, I'm talking now. All right. Let me see. Let me just make sure all those extra. Gosh. No. All right. I think. Okay. Yeah. It is. Stream has started. All right. He says he can hear everything. So you guys are ready to. Okay. Yeah. Okay, honey. Yep. Thank you. Okay. Huh? Quit playing this thing. Alrighty. You guys are good to go, and thank you so much, Chris, for agreeing to uh, help us. And
Sure,
good
I
luck
hope
to
I can
both
do
of
it
these
justice.
guys. No, it's me and Chris. Because he hasn't said anything. Right? And like I said, Chris, these are both mathematicians, so it's going to be a very interesting game.
Yes, and the perennial top two seeds as well. So let's hope it lives up to that billing.
When I need to increase the volume too. Gosh, where is the volume? Da, 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 da. Okay, yeah, the voice is volume is up. I Paul had Blockmonoid had created the Zoom call, as you see. So I told him just give me a second to get this thing started.
Yes, I think he's muted and he's also turned off his speaker, so he's not listening into our commentary for hints. Not
Right.
that he needs any.
Yep. And like I had said, he is kind of a smarty pants. So yeah. So it's kind of fun to see him and Thomas play a game, and especially when it's final, and Thomas can actually tell you. Thomas keeps a track of like how many games he has won and lost against Block. It's kind of fun. And
Uh,
when they start talking about clothing, so many cards are left, and I'm like, okay, you
okay.
guys can keep track of all that. I can't. So it's kind of funny. And he had just okay, there he is.
Yeah.
All right, let's see.
Well, two good cards up initially.
Yep, both have really good cards to start with. Ah,
Oh,
and Thomas was going to.
let's go. Right.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, now he's got pretty dang good cards, but Thomas has the
If
wheel.
Thomas can just keep drawing him because he's got alls, there's no immediate risk of
Yep,
losing
unless,
things.
well, no, unless Block ends up with the clothing next turn, which he could do and get what is that monument? That would be the only downfall.
So yeah, the number of cards that Thomas has, oh,
Ah, there you
well,
go.
okay, that was unlucky from
Okay,
Thomas's viewpoint
I know.
that then just brought up clothing, and now it's scoring twos as well, of course, which speeds things up. So
Okay, yeah. Okay, so yeah, he does not have a card in hand, so he cannot get monument. But I think Thomas probably is collecting for um, masonry, which he may or
yeah,
may not have in hand.
but yeah, there's also but he has to weigh that up against the urgency to get cards on the board and stop quick scoring from clothing. So
Yep,
that helps.
pottery is good to have,
Yeah.
and he's wondering whether he should draw or not. Oh well.
Okay. That's fair enough. I mean, that was an interesting thing to share metalworking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Block has always said that he likes to do that. Like especially if, like, say, if the other player has masonry on board and he has metalworking, he shares metalworking just so the other player could lose any potential castles. So, all right. Well, guess what he's going to do? He's going to ore him. I think. Because Block has two cards in hand. He has what's that thing? He has mathematics in hand, and
Which has a crown, and canal buildings on the board, so that has a crown. So
exactly.
that's two of the twos with crowns that
Mm-hmm.
aren't there. So the odds of, there's limited odds of Blockmonoid having a card with a crown. So, but
Mm-hmm.
that might be the best action. Okay, so
There
we did
you go.
have one. Yeah.
And Block has calendar and fermenting in hand now, and he can actually, yeah, depending on what this two is, he could actually get the first achievement, and that really depends on what is the two.
Okay, just a couple more cards. I mean, presumably he's looking to return one of the twos with pottery.
Yep, he
And
wants to
then,
steal the
okay, yeah,
first achievement.
yeah, because otherwise Thwol get it. It's always important to get that on the board.
Yep.
Um, and if we were to meld mathematics, that would be shared. So Blockmonoid has a two, so that's not a great way to tech up. Other than that, we don't know what's in Thwol's hand, so we don't know what options he might have.
Yeah, he might just go for pottery. I don't know. It's always a good
It's
card
certainly
to
a way
have.
to, yeah, a way to score, and he'll be drawing twos and then threes.
Yep,
Yep.
pottery. He could always ore him just to see what's in his hand.
Possible. We don't know. I mean, that was a card that was scored as a result of the first clothing, right? Um, so yeah. I mean, if Oz doesn't do anything, he still gets a three. There's lots of options here. But I know Thwol likes pottery and agriculture, so he probably doesn't. So, mysticism is a free meld of a three,
Oh, yes.
but it's a blind meld, so there's a risk of covering up one of those cards um, that he might not want to do. So, okay.
Okay, so I bet you he is probably wondering if Block is going to share metalworking or not. Yep.
Okay. Oh, optics.
Alright, and we got optics. Now, if he. Okay, he scored feudalism. And he probably has two threes in his hand, and I have a feeling he's going to swap these threes using canal building because the threes
That's certainly, I mean, that would give him a say, yeah, because Thwol has no way to score points, score up to 10 and get a two on his board and get the achievement in the next turn.
oh yeah, you're right, he doesn't have a two on board.
So, he
It's a bit.
should be safe to get the two, even though he's given up optics, which, I always think is quite a good card.
I thought so, yeah, but if the other three, the bonus three is a translation or paper, then he probably is screwed. So Block actually gets the first and the second achievement. So let's see. Thwol is actually is wondering what to do. Probably just over him, just to see the cards in his hand, and you never know what is the three in his hand. Well, the three in his hand is feudalism, so but the two is kind of
Who is unknown. So, yeah.
yep.
I imagine Swall's also looking at how he can play pottery and agriculture in such a way to try and get the third achievement.
Hmm.
Um,
I have a feeling he's going to do agriculture first because Block could probably
yeah.
share metalworking again. Yeah, there's paper.
Okay. I mean, he doesn't have the light bulb majority, so that's not necessarily a card he might want to activate next turn because it would be shared, and Blockmonoid could display his green cards, but I don't know.
He could, yeah, but that's where the risk is. I mean, he will share paper. He may or may not share paper actually. He has the same number of light bulbs,
Yes,
but that means he could get screwed by ores.
um, possibly. Of course, Thor's also set up to use agriculture next turn to
Hmm.
score three more points, and then going to take the third achievement now that he has paper on his board.
Yep, yep.
So maybe looking at that, um, because yes, Blockmanoid's highest card is a two and hadn't yet achieved. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to guess that's what's going to happen here. This Thwol will just score a few more points. I mean, he could use ores, of course, now that there's been a blind
Yes.
draw.
Now that the paper is out of the way, it could be what are the crowns we're looking at? Compass, and of course, translation. But that's what
Yes.
he's wondering if he should take the risk or not because two threes in his hand. And there's a chance there may be none.
It's not, I don't think it's urgent for Thwol to get the third achievement. I don't see an obvious way for Blockmonoid to get it on the next turn. But there's no immediate scoring. Metalworking isn't going to score very many because there aren't that many cards
Mm-hmm.
with castles left.
Yep, you are right.
So um, and with tooth, the canal building isn't going to do much for Blockmonoid.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Let's see. He has two threes in his score pile and he cannot use canal building because we already
yeah,
know he has optics. So
so,
Thwol is actually gonna go with pottery, I think. Pottery and ores combination. Maybe try ores first and maybe achieve, maybe.
I don't know. He's giving it a lot of thought. Um, of course, we know that he still has mathematics in his hand, which, if he were to meld that, would give the light bulb majority, but it would cover up pottery.
I thought he had. I thought Blockmonoid had maths, which he had.
No, that was the first time that Blockmonoid activated metalworking. That was shared, and I think it was mathematics that went into Thwol's hand.
Oh, I see, I see. Okay, okay. You're right.
Uh,
Okay. I sort of
so
thought Block had gotten it, and that's why Thwol had scored. But you're right. Ah,
okay, that's so it's another way to get the majority
right, right.
because he obviously likes pottery as a
Oh, yes, absolutely.
yeah.
And you know what's dangerous is he can do agriculture with the four in his hand and get the next achievement. And we don't have education at this time. Block could have education in his hand and he could use it actually. Now it's Paul's turn to think.
Yeah, I mean, none of the cards on his board are particularly good, right?
Right,
Writing is useless. Metalworking shares, and there aren't many cards like that. Clothing doesn't do anything. Canal building is unhelpful, given he has two threes in his score pile, and Code of Laws, okay, gets to display something, but is tucking a higher value card under a lower value one.
right.
So is yeah,
So unless he has education in hand, he might actually tuck and splay and then meld education. He could do that, but that's yeah. And once the threat of ores is gone, then he could, share writing. just to draw two cards.
Well, the castles are equal now after philosophy was melded. So Oars isn't a direct threat, but I'm sure Thwol has a card with castles on if he,
Oh, yes, he
if he
might.
wanted to use it. But it's probably masonry or domestication, which would
Exactly.
cover agriculture, which is not a worthwhile move. So
Yeah,
I think Oars is of limited threat at this point.
right. Until, philosophy could always play and, give him an extra castle.
That's true. I'd forgotten that it's feudalism hiding under there. So, or
Mm-hmm.
sorry, it's mysticism. Sorry, hiding under
Mysticism,
there.
yes.
The other purple one with three castles. Um, so yes, this is nicely balanced at the moment. Blocks ahead in achievements, but the scores are still equal. And I feel that Thwol has a better board at the moment and opportunities
You
to
know,
get the next achievement.
I just thought of something. If Block has, what's that thing, machinery in his hand, he could share machinery, but if and he has done that before by sharing machinery, but machinery was already on his board. He shared machinery to score a castle from his hand, and if the castle in his hand happens to be what's that thing, alchemy, if
Yeah,
then he could probably probably maybe next turn get the next achievement, but no, that takes two turns.
yeah.
And
Okay, so
he,
he's
yeah,
just drawn a three because he obviously doesn't have anything better.
I bet you he's looking for alchemy.
Uh, he's looking. I assume he's looking to get.
The world, yes.
And what's the? I mean, optics has gone into the score
Yep, and he does
pile. So
want to
what's
do
the
that.
other?
I have no idea. He
Engineering is a red three. So what has crowns? Yeah, the red three. The other red three is engineering, which doesn't have crowns.
hmm
Um,
But you know what? He likes to use translation, but we don't know how many crowns are in his score pile.
but we know optics is in there, so he might be able to use translation. And if he's not covering anything else up, okay. So here we go. So as you suggested, it's philosophy to score a hat,
hmm
score a card,
Yep, because
and
he
display.
he probably prefers to score and achieve. Okay, yeah,
I mean,
because
he could have returned the four and scored five with agriculture, but he obviously there's a side effect of getting the extra castle there, which makes oars back in play. So indeed, here we see.
optics.
Okay. So he just did a swap with canal building to avoid running his score down.
Yeah,
Now with optics.
that was a pretty good move. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Just
I mean,
canal
it was it was
building and
it was two. I mean, it was two actions. It was an entire turn just to get optics on the board
mm-hmm,
and activating translation here. So it's basically effectively used three actions,
right.
four really, if you count melding translation simply to achieve world,
Mm-hmm,
which is a lot of time for something. But he can use optics.
right. That would make his achievements three. And let's presume if 12 wants to, let's say, draw, or probably not want to draw threes but fours. I mean, that could wipe out the three. Although, what could be the last three? That would be, what's that thing?
Alchemy and education are still
Right, and compass. Compass is the only crown left,
right.
But that he may actually have it in his hand or in his score pile.
Yeah.
Here you go. Now the
So,
threes are out of the way.
okay.
There you go. Block is doing the world.
Yeah.
And now that the threat of threes is out, he can probably do optics and score some.
And
Oops.
indeed he has.
Uh. Well, now it's
And
Thwol's turn to
gunpowder's always a nice one.
gunpowder. But ores is the only one that's
Yeah.
and
But clothing's still on Blockmonoid's board. So, well, I don't. But clothing would be shared, and presumably Thwol has a red card he could meld
right.
to avoid that rapid scoring. But you know,
Yeah. Now the thing is that if he scores ores, that means he also scores a four and gets the next
yes,
achievement.
yes.
So
So
Thwol actually
Thwol
needs to
probably needs to cover
cover
it up.
ores exactly. So probably paper and maybe hope to grab a red.
Um,
But you don't have a 4 in hand. Oh. Oh, he returned a 2. So that
oh,
block cannot achieve the next achievement.
yeah.
That is a
Smart
pretty good.
thinking. This is
Huh?
yeah.
It's a great idea. And you know what? I just remembered something. He melded perspective, which means that he can probably draw a bunch of cards using papers and then try to get monument with perspective in a couple of turns.
Yes, that is a very good point. Um, okay, so he's used gunpowder anyway. Fair enough. More points on the board. And
Ooh,
clothing.
you know what? But Thwol actually is going to get the next achievement, obviously. And then he's going to draw a bunch of cards with paper so that he could have a red in hand.
He's got to see everything that's in Thwol's hand. Because clothing was shared. It's just that Thwol did not have a red card,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of surprised me, but I wasn't paying enough attention to which ones had gone.
Right. I
Um,
mean, he has tools, reformation, domestication, and masonry in hand,
yes,
which,
but we didn't know any of that.
right, until now.
Yeah, so there could have been a red one in there, in
Mm-hmm.
which case Blockmonoid wouldn't have scored because
Yep.
Walt would have been able to meld that. So okay, Thwol's achieved four, and he needs to have eight cards in hand in order that activating perspective twice will give him monument.
Now,
Um,
I'm wondering about the 2 in his hand. That's not construction, right? Because that went into the score pile. So he cannot get Empire. I think construction was scored by one of these guys. I don't remember who, but it
I
was.
don't recall seeing it, but there was a flurry of scoring earlier on that I
Yeah,
maybe wasn't paying enough attention to, since I'm not as used to this as this commentary lark as you are.
Well, I think it was scored due to Metalworks. I just don't remember which one of these two, um, but it was possibly Thwol.
Okay, so draw a card from his hand, draws a four. Okay,
So he scored Reformation.
yeah, that's fine. Paper will, 2 sheets of paper will get him 6 cards, and then 2 hits of perspective will get monument and, not just that achievement, but also, of course, score a lot. So that's, looking dangerous in the very short term.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we know that he's not melting any of the castles with the gunpowder staining.
Yeah. Okay, so keep using clothes. Okay, fair enough.
That's gotten dangerous. That's the next two achievements with 30 points.
If he needs to draw and meld a 5 first, so he can't get both of them. And of course, there are lots of fun cards in the fives.
Mm-hmm.
So Thor might not just be looking to draw these with paper and then score them with perspective.
Yep, yep.
So he's looking at what he's just got, whether he can do something fun with them. I think we're too early there. I don't think the cards that destroy your opponent's score pile show up until the sixes and sevens, right? Things like, which is it? Is it vaccination is a 6?
Yep. Now he's wondering whether he should use perspective or just draw with paper until he gets a red. Because the advantage of using perspective is he will return a 1, and that is all Block would score with clothing.
That's another very good point.
Mm-hmm.
But I would imagine, yeah, if that's what happens, then Block is likely to just draw a card, draw a 5 and meld it so that he can take the fifth achievement on the next turn.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Because, yeah, if Thwol is going through the ages very quickly with paper, then that helps Block in some regard because it makes the fives and then the sixes show up earlier,
Mm-hmm.
while its scores is still higher.
Yep. And that's a lot faster than pottery. Actually, that
Yep.
could help pottery because he gets to draw so many cards, and then if he starts doing pottery, well, he's in luck. There you go.
Okay, so he's chosen somewhat surprisingly to my thinking, the meld astronomy.
Right, and that's a direct 6. But thing is, if he covers pottery using astronomy, then Block could actually use machinery. Block may or may not have machinery in his hand, and he would definitely use it. Now there is a 2 and a 3 in his hand. Uh, and now that ores has been disposed of, We don't
I mean,
know.
clothing is unlikely to. I imagine that Thwol has a red card in his hand,
It's very possible.
so clothing probably won't score. I mean, it's a risk basically,
Mm-hmm.
big risk for Block to do that he probably doesn't need to do. So he's got 30 points. He's ahead in achievements. He can draw and meld a five. Except of course, Swal is going to achieve five on the next turn.
Yep.
So, and could well get towards achieving six with perspective if
Mm-hmm.
astronomy comes up trumps.
Yep.
Again, I feel it's swung back. Last time I said something, I thought Swal was ahead, and then it started to swing a bit more towards Block, and now I think advantage back to a. Whilst we've got education.
There's education.
Yeah,
So he wants to draw a six.
it gives Thwol the opportunity to draw six, but if Thwol takes it, Thwol will no longer have enough points for the fifth achievement.
That is correct. But
So
like
risking his pass.
he could still do perspective and
Yeah.
all right. Okay, so block draw. So six.
So
And Thwol
Thwol
here
will
with
want to achieve five this turn, obviously. Otherwise, he's just giving that away. So that's one of his actions.
there
Yeah.
you go. And I suspect he will not do astronomy as a second move.
Um,
But probably perspective.
well, there's no threat from machinery,
No,
right?
not
Because the three
anymore.
in Block's hand was education.
Yep.
So if astronomy doesn't work and he has a six in his hand, it's no, and Block has a six anyway. So, but paper is again an option, and then perspective would get monument the next turn.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, definitely astronomy looks like the right card. Well, they're killing me with curiosity, and I'm sure you're not very different.
Again, Block doesn't have any obvious scoring routes,
Mm-hmm.
whereas Thwol does, of course. So that, has an effect. I mean, there's long-term, medium-term strategies like drawing another six, using canal building to put two sixes in his score pile, and then using education to draw an eight.
Hmm.
Like, those sorts of ways do things, but I'm not sure that's quick enough, given what could happen in the next two or three turns. From Thwol's perspective, in terms of, could easily score a lot of points and get the sixth achievement
Yep,
and be in a very good position.
definitely.
But
So he's just sitting and thinking and thinking and thinking. And you know, the funny thing he mentioned, I think, was it last stream I did for him, or maybe the one before that, and you were probably there in that stream. He said, I play innovation, to wake up in the morning. I'm like, oh goodness.
No, I wasn't there for that. Oh my, oh dear.
I'm like,
I
no.
I
Huh?
I don't play it in the morning. I'm quite the opposite. I'm not a morning person, and so um, yeah, because I live in Hawaii.
Right.
Often when I get up, if I'm playing someone on the mainland or in Europe, there's a move waiting for me, and I have to make sure I don't just play, quickly, um, and do something stupid before I've had coffee. Um, okay, so that was
That was pottery.
interesting.
Yeah,
So
he
returned three ones actually in order to score a four.
three ones. Okay, and scored a four. That's a good move.
I don't know why he returned the third one because he
I
still
don't.
would have scored the four if he'd returned
Uh,
only two of them.
right. I think he just want. He probably did not have a red card in hand, and he wanted to make sure that block does not um, score fives, but just ones.
Maybe,
Yep.
yeah, maybe two shots of clothing would
Mhm.
um, but
That's a pretty smart move that he did to sort of neutralize clothing because those castles are
assuming he
useless.
doesn't have a red card, right? So,
Mhm.
I mean, we don't know. We can obviously ask him afterwards if he joins us. Um, if he did have a red card, I don't understand that. So,
Mhm.
I think maybe you're right in but maybe you're right in assuming he doesn't have a red card, or maybe I just don't understand it because
Mhm.
he's much better than me. Um,
And me. So, yeah, you're not alone there. Don't worry, Chris. So, what do you, if you don't mind, what do you do?
I'm an astronomer. Well, I'm no, I'm a software engineer. I'm a software engineer for an
Awesome.
astronomy observatory.
Awesome. That sounds pretty good, actually. Uh, astronomy sort of reminds me. I'm in Arkansas, and wow, he does not want to melt that six. It must have been a purple six. Anyways, so next year, like I think on
Okay.
8th April, we're going to have a complete solar eclipse here in Arkansas.
Oh, cool. I've never seen a total solar eclipse.
Yep, I had seen one a few years ago, and
Right, there was another one over the mainland in 2018, I want to say, maybe 2019. I do want to see one. It
okay.
is, on my bucket list.
Hmm, awesome. Whoa, that's a
Okay.
pretty good move.
Well, I'm pleased I called that one out earlier, in terms of assuming that now he wants to use education to get an eight.
Yep, and that also means that he could do education and draw an 8.
Yes, that's
That could be actually pretty dang, you know,
yeah. The
dangerous.
eights are fun. Lots of eights are a lot of fun.
Yep, he could wipe out Thwol's score pile as well.
Yes. Um,
And I bet Thwol is thinking the same thing.
I mean, I'm assuming astronomy looks like the option. I mean, Thwol's effectively gave up on using paper and perspective to score a lot of points in the last turn by using pottery instead.
Mhm.
So in that regard, astronomy is a way, and if it works out, he has the sixth achievement, but it might cover up pottery, which,
It's very
he
likely,
doesn't
yes.
want to do. And of course, well, he's gone and done that anyway, so okay. Thinks it's Emancipation is a interesting card,
Hmm.
but it doesn't have a factory majority, so can't use it straight away.
Now, what I was thinking was that with the force in hand, do you think he could probably, I mean, the only dangerous four would be Enterprise. And I think Thwol is actually considering the same idea, is that if a 4 happens to be Enterprise, he could steal paper because that is the only crown.
But Enterprise is purple. We know Block is, or we think Block is going to use education to get an 8 next turn, right? Sacrificing that direction for the purposes of getting Enterprise
It's entirely possible.
seems. I mean, I'm assuming that's why Block made that swap, but as you say, it might have been to retrieve cards that were in his score pile instead.
Hmm.
We'll find out next turn.
Yep.
So, okay, so
Wow.
just astronomy again.
Yeah, he's not getting
Um,
astronomy, but he now has a red card in hand. So,
and yes, machine tools is would give them the factory majority. So there's the 8 to be expected.
yep.
Machine tools is a good scoring card.
Hmm. Ooh,
Okay,
mobility. Okay.
but so I imagine machine tools are going to be melded, yes,
Yep.
and can it will achieve 6
Yep.
now.
He's wondering whether he should use astronomy or achieve, I think. Huh.
Okay.
Interesting.
Well, I think he wanted to, if he used machine tools, it would only be scoring 4s. So that's
Oh.
cleared out some of the lower cards so that
Hmm.
machine tools is more powerful.
That's true.
And Block, of course, can't get the 6th achievement anytime soon.
I
Um,
think Block is looking for corporations, which would give him the factory lead, and that would really mess up Thwol's board.
yes. So that is a danger, which is why I thought Thwol would just take the 6th achievement last turn, make sure he has it, that nothing goes. Um, so the dogma on corporations involves drawing and melding an 8 for your opponent. So
Yep, that's true.
yeah, so Block probably doesn't want to let that happen because that's the advantage that Block has, right? Is that he's drawing 8s.
Hmm.
So he might not want to give that away. He might just be looking to draw something to get some more factories on his board.
Yeah.
It would be nice to have some splaying because he's got some piles there and, has cards with crowns, sorry, with clocks. So, Empire is possible. So yeah, I think he's just sort of fishing for something good.
You know
So
what?
Thwol's achieved 6.
If he does clothing, sorry, canal building again, and swaps his 6 with these two 8s, what would that score be?
That's 10 more points. So that gets him up to
6,
30.
that's 10, yeah, 30, yep.
Um, if he
Okay.
were to draw another 8
He
and
wants
then
to,
do
yeah.
canal building, it would get him up to 38.
You are
And
right.
therefore he would have the 7th achievement. So okay, so astronomy again.
Nice.
Now we've got democracy, which is
Awesome.
also an way to score points.
Yep.
Um, And classification is now a
Dangerous.
risk because Block doesn't want any of his eights to be snapped up by classification.
Oh, yes.
So it might be draw an eight and canal building.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, that would be the right idea. He has what? Okay. Couple of fours and eights. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is like, a tense moment for Block, I bet. Because I bet you he does not want classification on the board, on Thwol's board.
No.
Because that is a dangerous card.
Yes, and presumably, he'll pick greens or yellows or purples, that are already splayed to get some extra symbols. Because he's well ahead in light bulbs, so it's okay to cover some of those up.
Yep.
Um, and it could get him on the way to achieving universe via astronomy, right? If he has a yellow six in his hand and chooses that with classification to get the yellows up to six, then astronomy melds a blue six. That's universe, which will be his fifth achievement, put him on the hill, as they say.
Yeah, but he can actually get a monument this turn. Thomas can get monument this turn.
Yes, he can indeed. He has eight cards in his hand.
Yep.
So perspective twice will do that and
Mm-hmm.
score 32 extra points, which is a lot.
Yep. And after that, he will. Yep. It's just because the cards in his hand are what? He has a purple. He has two purples in hand. So yeah, he is due. What's that thing? Metric system and the blues.
Atomic theory
Atomic theory. Yep.
and is it
Encyclopedia.
encyclopedia? Oh, yes.
Now, see, the thing with the astronomy is every time I have melded atomic theory, it's like, and I get so happy. And of course, on top of it comes encyclopedia. And I'm like,
Yes.
you suck. I've told astronomy a few times. Yeah. It, and I
Well,
was,
if you've got atomic theory, you just use that to meld any old seven,
yeah, but it
right?
gets
You don't,
covered
yeah,
in the literally in the same turn by astronomy.
yeah.
That's the downside. It always seems to happen this way.
Okay, so Block's decided to do this before drawing another
Hmm.
eight because he had vaccination in his hand, which is a he can't use yet, but is as we've talked about that card earlier, that
Hmm.
it's powerful if you have the leaf majority.
Yep.
Um, he could one of his four, he could have Reformation in his hand. He could have a card with leaves in his hand to set himself up to use vaccination.
Reformation was actually scored by Thwol. Remember, he had it
Yeah.
in his hand, and he scored it with philosophy
Oh, okay.
to get the
I,
third achievement.
I missed that.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, he had.
but
We had seen that card in his hand when Block had shared clothing, and we had seen he had what's that thing? The two yellows, uh, masonry and
oh yeah, masonry and
investigation,
investigation. Yes.
and the third
Sorry.
card
Yes.
was
Yes, you're right.
reformation. So Thwol's turn.
Yeah.
He is wondering whether to do astronomy or not, but yeah, it's time
I
for.
mean, it yeah, it's I mean, if astronomy works, it could get him universe. He can use perspective to get monument, and those two achievements would win him the game, right? So he might just need three more actions to win the game. Um, if he does perspective now, obviously he can't do that. He has to do that twice in the same.
Mm-hmm.
turn in order to get monument.
Right.
Um,
Now I'm
I mean,
wondering.
that would empty his hand, so he's probably worried.
He's worried about the four in Block's hand. If one
Yeah,
of the
but
fours, now the thing is that Chris, thing is if one of the fours is what's that one? That green one that plays it's plays right, and he left split.
invention.
Invention. Yes, I was thinking in encyclopedia,
Yes.
but invention. If that is invention in Block's hand, he could mobilize, Thwol's board. Classification, perspective, classification, and astronomy will get wiped out. But if the four is not, then
Sorry. Invention is you can splay right something you've got splayed left.
right. But see, both of them have three factories at this time. And if Block melts one more factory, then he can use mobility,
Yes.
right? Which would
Oh,
get rid
okay.
of.
So sorry, it's simply the factory that you've got. Yes.
Yeah, did I say
Um,
castle? Because I pretty much
yeah,
mix up.
no. I wasn't. I don't think you said which was the. Um, but of course, mobility. Yeah. So yeah, mobility would take off. Yep, astronomy classification. You're absolutely right. So that's a risk.
Yep.
Um,
And even if that gives him a an eight in his hand, he still would have lost perspective. Or well, we'll see.
no, classification and astronomy are the two that go. And so machine tools is still on the board, which means Thwol would still be drawing sixes. So I, yeah,
Now, if
I mean,
astronomy covers pottery, then vaccination would get him.
yes. So that's certainly a risk against using astronomy. But yeah, I mean, if it, so many options.
Yeah.
Um, this reminds me of my first game against. Well, hang on. Okay, something's happening. So he's using perspective. Okay, so he's going to get he's decided to get monument this turn, which I think is the right call.
Oh, and he returned a four instead of the one. That's interesting. And he scored the one as well. Instead of returning the one, he scored that
Because
one.
vaccination takes the lowest cards. So having a one in his score pile effectively renders the first use of vaccination
Yes, you are
pointless.
right.
Um, you know,
Yep.
you have to wait till the bivalent version of vaccination is along before it has any use.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yes, the first time I played Thwol, I was in a position where I was very close to having both Empire and Wonder that would give me the fifth and sixth achievements for me. Well, I had five achievements, and it was a question of which order I could do them in, because Thwol also had the opportunity to get one or the other, but it seemed less likely that he'd get Empire. So I got Wonder first, and then he just melded a card that was, I think it was Quantum Mechanics, the blue one with three clocks. And that was the only card he could get to get Empire before I did. And so I lost that game. Whereas if
Oh.
I'd taken Empire first, the
Mm-hmm.
chances of him getting Wonder were so yeah, I was unlucky. So sometimes you have to decide, which order to do things. And I think that was what Thwol was thinking there. So he's taken monuments. You see, he's reduced the threat of vaccination
Mm-hmm.
because he's got
Wow.
so many points now. He also has the opportunity to get his sixth achievement via number seven at some point. If you were to meld atomic theory, for example, he wouldn't have to worry about getting a yellow six to get universe. With astronomy, he could just activate atomic theory to get a seven on the board and achieve
Now
Uh,
Thwol shared this time and got an 8. So
so
that is
he shared education, and so yep, Thwol's going to take that because it gives him an 8, and he can meld that and get
yep, the next achievement.
yeah, it just meld it, and that's it. So
Good game.
not enough. Yeah, indeed, that was
Nice.
yeah.
Nice job. He said he wasn't expecting Monument. Come on, Paul.
I mean, we saw that ages ago,
Yeah.
and okay, that ended rather suddenly.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, so
okay,
yeah.
well, that was certainly kept us on the edges of our seats.
Because I'm standing. I totally understand. That was pretty interesting. That's funny. Yep. See?
Yes.
Invention. You are right, invention. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So that's going to make for a fun, interesting conversation.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hey,
I played
commiserations.
that last turn too fast, but it's okay. I was lost anyway.
So yeah, with the force in your hand, Paul, we were kind of theorizing that if it is invention, then mobility could actually wipe out classification and astronomy, and that is
Yes.
exactly what we were talking about.
Yes. So I before perspective gave Thwol a big score. I had been considering melding invention to give me 4 factories over Thwol's 3 factories,
Mhm.
and then using mobility to kill classification and astronomy, giving me 11 points, putting me at 41. And he would draw an 8, but I was kind of, I was hoping he would still have 30 points. So if he melded the 8, I wasn't too worried because I could just achieve the 7 and the 8, and then I'd be at 5 achievements.
Mhm.
Uh, but perspective gave him so many points. I hadn't paid attention that his hand had gotten so big. And so Monument was a real danger there. Um, but yeah, I mean, I was basically weighing giving him the 8 just to get those achievements. Because I wasn't too worried. I had already drawn skyscrapers and mass media, which were the 2 8s that I would probably be the most afraid of. Um, and so, he could draw an 8 and maybe it was empiricism, and he could maybe get lucky in a few turns, but it wouldn't be an immediate death. Um, but yeah, Thwol just kept up the score, which was unfortunate. I liked my little plan of education with canal building to try to get to age 10 pretty quickly, but Thwol slowed me down a little bit.
So,
Are you there?
yep, yep. That's pretty good that what you guys did, and of course we were kind of theorizing, and we were right a few times, and of course few times we were like, we don't know what he's going to do, and we don't know what the other one is going to do, of course, because it was just
So
fun.
yeah, there was a period in the middle of the game after you'd taken ores off the board with gunpowder,
Yep.
um, and you'd used clothing a couple of times. We weren't sure whether Paul had a red 5 in his hand. So after, when he drew some 5s and melded astronomy, we were trying to think, does he have a red 5 in his hand that means that clothing is of no use? Or does he not? So we assumed that he did, but then he played an action to return a one to the score pile, which made us think that in fact he didn't have a red card in his hand, and so he'd done that to make sure that you couldn't score well with clothing because you'd only be scoring ones, not fives.
Yeah, I'm really curious, Thwol, when you did paper and you drew three fives, was there a red five in that draw? Thwol, are you there?